Oh, I guess this will be number 4. I meant to put all that on the last tape 3, but somebody came to the door and I had to leave for a few minutes, so I'll pick up here. I was taking to Larry Flint's, and when I went into his home and met him, um, his words to me were, "They're going to send you back a vegetable." And the vegetable I understood because that it was letting me know that he knew they'd put antifreeze in the April Fool's Day of '80. Now then, the sending me back, I didn't understand until a couple of months later when I started finding out just prior to going there. No, I didn't. It was a little bit later. That I'd been kidnapped from London, Buckingham Palace, and my father is the real King Edward VIII. And an imposter married Wallace Simpson. My father was legally married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe from Madison, Wisconsin, and Santa Fe, New Mexico. So it's been a joke that they could kidnap me. They could take the colonies and install their own monarch, which is Elizabeth, and her father, George VI, illegally take down my father and kidnap me, his daughter, the real heir to the crown, and it is legal, but hey, this woman sitting there and her brood. And by the way, look at her brood. This is my son. This is an old photo. Mark, Scott, and me. And my son's Mark is the legitimate heir after me. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and show you these photos, and then maybe I can pick that back up. I don't know. There's not much more I can say to it. I got this thing so close to my face. I'm going to show you the picture of my dad and the real King Edward VIII. Then I'm going to show you the double who married Wallace Simpson. Now, I also showed you a picture of the double that married Wallace Simpson, but I showed you a picture of Georgia, my aunt, O'Keefe, the artist, and I showed you my Uncle George the Sixth. That was illegal. They helped take down my father and kidnap his own niece, the real heir to the crown. The Americans installed him with the Rockefellers and Rothschilds and Bilderbergers, the Illuminati or the New World Order, Freemasons, whatever name you want to give to them, Trilateral, they're all the same. Which, by the way, Elizabeth and Charles are members, and when the meetings are closed and everybody locked out, and you have to wonder why, they've been photographed there. They're members. So that's where it's gone while I've been put over here and tortured every moment of my life, and so are my children. My father, I really don't know the life that my father and mother had to live. Everything was stolen from him. My God, an imposter took over, and his daughter's gone. I know my father was still alive when I came to Roanoke in '86, October, and he was 45 years old when I was born, and my mother was 40. So he was older at that time. But history would have you believe that he died in '74, I believe. That's when the double died that married Wallace Simpson. Now, all of this has been carried out, and there has to have been so much power to have covered it all up. I mean, I wouldn't have known if the British hadn't told me, and some Germans, and then some Americans have tried to help, but as a whole, I mean, it's been a joke to them, and I mean seriously, an April Fool joke to them that they could do it. Not so funny if you ever saw the real truth about it all and what's really happened. Now then, I don't know what else I meant to tell here. I did want to tell this though. I showed my sons. I showed Elizabeth and her brood that are illegal. Look how much of my money, but the British, the damage done to the British Empire, while she has, and people love the woman. She's got to be, her and her father, responsible for the biggest. I keep trying to think of the movie that one of my favorite actresses played in, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and did Sean Connery play in that? I think he did. Where they, anyway, the title of it. I mean, it was such a rip-off at such a high level. And what happened is their treaties are illegal. That my uncle, he stole the crown. It's illegal as heck. What happened? But he signed for the United States to put its military bases all over British soil. So it was a takeover and used the Brits as a launching pad and to fight their wars. And that's when supposedly Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and all the Netherlands became allies, quote, when they're really, they started off as hostages because once they got hold of Great Britain and controlled it, well, this is the royal family were the monarchs over Denmark, Sweden, Netherlands, etc. at the time. So, under the guise of democracy, the United States will control everything. They do now, actually. But it's been a joke, and I had to go and live, I came to Roanoke in '86, October. I had to live on the Appalachian Trail, just have a place to be and not be on the side of the road begging for a ride from town to town, to sleep in a what? Salvation Army room and where you can stay one night and you're gone again. Anyway, I was really supposed to come up here because my tracks have been laid out for me when, and I'll quote back to Carl Smith. Now, whether that was his real name, I don't know. He was an FBI agent from Atlanta, and when, in April the 1st of '80, when I was given the antifreeze and illegally on the 5th of April, the day before Easter of '80, I was taken illegally across the state line to Alabama, the state I was in. And anyway, it's so horrible, you can't put it on here. So I'll just say that I ended up working for the District Attorney, Fred Simpson, in Huntsville, Madison County DA, and lived at Warren House. And Warren House is associated with the Warren Commission that covered up the Kennedy, and because it would tell about me, quite frankly, my kidnapping, because Joe Kennedy was ambassador and helped kidnap me, helped my uncle in the New World Order kidnap me. So at a Warren House apartment, I'm having to stop and think a minute. I had an apartment there, and it's a little efficiency apartment. But beneath me was Carl Smith. Now, I don't know if it's his name or not, but he was FBI. And, hey, they told me these things, so they meant for me to tell this, plus the mind control murders and all of it. And instead of it helping or me getting, it's really killed me. People's attitude is get rid of me, the messenger, and everything will be all right, which is a lie in itself. But Carl Smith explained to me that he had lived at Normandy apartments. Okay, Normandy, you associate with what? With the World War II and the invasion and all this, where supposedly the Allies and when really they were hostage. The Brits are hostages and all this. But he told me enough, and he had to have been told to do it. But he told me he had been sent to Warren House 5 years before me, and I think it must have been brand new then, but that doesn't matter. So my tracks were laid down at least 5 years ahead of me, where I was going to be and everything. So they knew I was going to have the antifreeze put in me, I would assume, and then I end up there, and I end up working for Fred Simpson, the district attorney. So I lived. It was a hell of a, and still, because I suffered brain damage for a long time afterwards. But, he told me these things, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it again. I don't know if this will ever be, if they'll allow me to tell it. You think they would, but it's been so long, and then people change, bureaus change. Somebody told me the other day that actually the New World Order had control of the FBI. Now, whether he knew what he was talking about, he knows a lot. He could have been lying. It had to have been lying, because he probably does know. But he told me, and there's more to all this. This is the guy that's FBI, and he's drawing his salary through supposed to be disability for an automobile accident. Well, he drove and everything. That's just how his paycheck was funneled. He was actually working for the FBI, and no, he wasn't hurt or anything. But he gave me a lot of information there, and he told me that he pulled out photographs of four, I've forgotten now, I think it's 4 children. Now then, one of the children was his. Now, whether that was a separate, I can't remember. He pulled out 4, and if I'm not mistaken, he told me the 4 he fathered, and the mothers didn't even know it. So all I'm going to say here is if you try to tell how they're doing it, and they did it so that it can be associated with mental illness. And that's what's going on now, the shootings and programming, and then they'll say they're mentally ill, which is a total lie. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. But anyway, what they can do with it is you can have a ham set, and it's as simple as a ham setting. You can go in and you can rape somebody and wipe it out of their memory and make them do things that they don't even know they've done, and certainly wouldn't do if they had control of their own mind and feelings. It's a sick thing. And these women, he told me, and I'm looking at the TV and Edward Kennedy there, and here's Hillary Clinton and Martin Luther King. And I can give you the breakdown on South Africa, how they used me. They knew here, Martin Luther King, Reverend Andrew Young, all of them knew about my kidnapping, my real name. They knew it when the antifreeze was put in me, when the Wayne Williams murders happened. So that was just on TV now, flash, so I won't get back to that. I've done that on other tapes. I mean, I got to be a hostage for all of it, you know. South Africa has mines, diamond mines. They have oil. They have a lot of things, and the United States controls it now. What they don't control, they will real soon. They'll just program rebels or somebody to appear to be the bad guy and go in and pretend to save them when they've instigated the whole thing to begin with. So anyway, the FBI, or now then it's so advanced, if you listen to Coast with George Norrie, I haven't in a while, but they can update you there on it. Detective agencies and corporations now use mind control. All they need is your brain scan, I believe I'm right. So it's updated a long time since 77, 78, using chips in you and putting chips in bypasses. So this is, my tracks were laid out. So the fact that I was meant to come to Roanoke and go through all this and where it ends, I guess with me dying, I don't know. I hope it's told, and I have some chance of a life and see my kids and repay the British and the Germans. And I'm not forgetting Americans if they help me. I don't want to hurt anybody that tried to help, but it's been a hell of a life, and people have been so crooked. It's sick. So now then I'm at loss for words. I don't know what I was going to say other than there was once that I came. I mean, I was just put on the side of the road after the VA's office. I couldn't get a job, and I can't go into all of it. I mean, to try to tell it, you can on the tape. So the law didn't work for me. The FBI, I've told you, they had it pre-programmed where I was going to be. But I came through either Kingsport, Tennessee, I don't remember. But I went in because somebody had really hurt me. And I went in to report it, and the sheriff's name was Fox, I think. Anyway, one of his detectives took me back, talked to me, and he knew all about it. What he told me was that the FBI came in ahead of me and set things up, and they told them if they tried to help me, that they would put their sheriff's office or police office under investigation, and they would find something. Now then, this applies to the average person, and what Snowden is telling now, it goes way beyond that. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to take anything away from Snowden, Edward Snowden. He's a good guy. He's a hero. But Edward Snowden had to have either been acting under mind control to gather all that information and get in there and get out and go where he's at, or someone went to him personally, and I don't think that was the case at all, and got him in and maneuvered him in. So who would be that person or that agency that did that? Because you can get somebody to go in and gather information, or in your home you put in security. Well, they can just, under mind control, tell you to give them the code, or they can tell you just come and open the door. It's that easy. So mind control is not visible. It's hard to prove. And it's been going on for a long time, but in the end, who really controls it? I mean, the United States, I assume, does now. But Snowden, that was just a touch of the iceberg, you know. But his name fits into the patterns, and it's the timeline, too. Like Edward was the name of my dad, Edward the Eighth, but Snowden has to do with what married Margaret Windsor, Elizabeth's sister. There was just two daughters there, the illegal George the Sixth, but Anthony Armstrong Jones, okay, and when he married Margaret, well, she made him Lord Snowden, okay, he was a photographer and all that, but that's where they're getting the Edward Snowden. So he was programmed and he fits into the pattern, but it's more, when I'm talking about patterns, it's like a fingerprint. It's not just one or two names or like that. It entails a lot more. Now then, I guess I'm lost at what I was saying, but when I came here to Roanoke, they came up, and when I couldn't get a job, I couldn't get a place to stay. They were afraid of it. But the FBI would, and the local law enforcement would help get stuff on people, like, let's say that their kid had marijuana or drugs on them or caught doing something illegal. They would get the parent to do something that the FBI had planned for me, which has been hell. I've been alive, so maybe they even saved my life, the FBI, for all I know. It's the people that didn't. They had options. They didn't have to do it. They were glad to. So anyway, specifically, this one man, I had managed to do a few live-ins, and I had pretty good job skills. My jobs were just shut down. And I was living up on the Appalachian Trail, and I was freezing and starving, and nobody would help or anything. In fact, they were trying to run me off and everything in the book. But I managed to get a new tent. Had the money to get a new tent, and I slept in it for like 4 or 5 nights. I don't remember now, and it was fine. It was kind of cute, and it kept the snakes away and the wind and the rain. And I walked away from it at one time and came back, and I was near Mountain Pass Road, the old Appalachian Trail, and I got in it, and I had gotten out not long before then, and everything was fine. Somebody had come up and soaked it with chemicals, and I started screaming. Whatever it was just sent me into orbit. It's just like that. I smell it, and I have to get away from it, or it tears me up, my immune system. And it was like the guy was waiting right there at Mountain Pass Road where the trail started. I wasn't far up the trail. And so I begged him to take me. I was so sick. I was starting to throw up and everything. And he took me. I had just enough money to get me a night at the motel. And he was the one. I never saw him before or after. And his truck was parked there because he knew I was coming out. He had sprayed it. And he said, well, I would help you, but they'd come in and close down my bank account. And I had one man tell me with his daughter there, little daughter intact, that he was afraid if he helped me, they'd kidnap his daughter. So I can go on and on because this is what's been used. Now, people, rather than going after the agency doing it, they participated and they just wanted me dead. But they didn't mind using my money and the treaties that were signed. They brought them all of this land of the free and so forth and so on. They're living comfortable, and Edward Snowden should be a hero, whether he was programmed or not charged with a crime. It's the United States that's committed the crimes that's above the law.